Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Sunday, September 19th, 2021. This is a special update here for the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We are monitoring the volcano in Palma, Canary Islands. First, let's get into our space weather. Our solar wind speeds are coming in around 308.9 kilometers per second with a density of 6.1. And we do have one sunspot today. We had a 3-day streak of 0 sunspots. That's 59 days now for 2021 without sunspots. AR 2871 is formed in the very far southern eastern limb of our star. You can see that bright spot at the bottom, just back there at the western or the eastern limb. It is now turning towards Earth. It is sunspot number 11, so it is a very weak sunspot, if barely at all qualifies as a sunspot. Now this was AR 2861 the last time this sunspot came around. So we'll continue to monitor this and see if this grows as it continues to turn Earth facing. But for now, we're dealing with a couple of things. We have an Earth facing coronal hole that is to the southern part of our magnetic field. Now this size might affect a little bit of the magnetic field here on Earth. Also, you can see that there is a coronal hole that is in the equatorial region that is turning towards Earth. The KP indice is at a 0 with a 24-hour max of 2, and I can tell you the last 24 hours really has been flirting back and forth. There was a 2 earlier, but ever since then we've seen 1 and 0 for the most part here in the last 24 hours. So low KP, sunspot, or I'm sorry, coronal hole Earth facing. These are the ingredients to kick off seismic activity. And what do we have? We had a volcano eruption. Now, if you guys tuned in on Friday, I pointed out that we were to watch this particular coronal hole to see if it might just spark something off, get things rolling, right? And here we are, Earth facing coronal hole with the eruption that happened hours ago. We are now looking at a VEI 2 eruption. So what does this all mean now that we're talking about space weather and the connection here? Because I find this very amusing if people out there tell me this is a coincidence that a volcano, a VEI 2, no big deal though. I'm not trying to make a big production about this, but if you're on the fence about solar activity contributing to seismic activity, you should strongly consider looking at what's going on right now, and there has to be a correlation here. Okay, we know that we have the best chance for seismic activity between KPs of 0 and 2. We also know we get a better shot at seismic activity when we have Earth-facing coronal holes. Now, I'm not saying this was a direct impact, but it could be enough to help get things jolted in the direction that they are heading into right now. So let's go ahead and check out some footage of this volcano that's going off right now. Live coverage here on the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Let's get some sound on this. And there she is. Now, behind these really large plumes of smoke, folks, is over the last few, actually I should say, we have seen this big black plume. Let me try to get this arrow up for you real quick, guys. I want to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Not that big. Actually, I'm pointing at the right area, but let's get real, folks. Let's get real. Okay, still too big. All right, that's better. So this right here, earlier we saw the fountain up really high, but now we're seeing a lot of ash plume and smoke kind of blocking this out. But this is incredible stuff. Live footage here on the Grand Solar Minimum channel. The Cumbre Vieja volcano here at the Canary Islands has erupted, or it has begun eruption phase. So we can tell you what we know so far, and more details are emerging from multiple media covering the eruption in great detail. At 4:33, a second fissure opened about 100 meters above the first one that opened up at 3:15. Now, the Civil Guard has announced that 5,000 to 10,000 people will be evacuated from the municipalities of El Paso, Los Llanos de Andre, and others as well, as lava flows have begun to descend down the slope. The neighborhood of El Parasolo, I think I said that right, Paralso, has already been evacuated. Current projections of lava flows predict they are likely to run through near an area of a settlement near the Montana Rajada following a ravine. That worries us now, said the mayor of El Paso, Sergio Rodriguez. When interviewed shortly after the onset of the eruption, the main concerns are that lava might reach inhabited areas such as La Laguana, and also, it doesn't say, in Adrian. The problem is further down in Los Campitos area. The lava is advancing slowly. People can be evacuated with relative ease at this time. See if we can find some more stats here on this. The lava flows are already across the Tecande Highway around 5:30 p.m., making passage of vehicles impractical. La Palma Airport has also been closed during the first hours of the eruption as ash plumes hindered visibility, but later resumed its operations as ash emissions have decreased again. The alert status of the volcano was raised to 3 out of 4, and the General Directorate of Secretary and Emergencies of the Government of Canary Islands activated the Level 2 emergency situation. Impressive photos continue to flow here from this eruption, folks. Now, we talked about this Friday night, mainly because there's getting a lot of attention out there on YouTube land, and there's this scenario of the piece of the volcano that will slide into the ocean that could create an 80-foot tsunami wave to wipe out the East Coast. Now, I'm here to report that that is something that could happen, but the chances of that happening are very low. In fact, we're talking in the low single percentages, maybe 4, 3, 2% maybe of happening. As we see the lava flow right now just getting intense, folks. You can hear, listen to that. That is the lava basically is being extended out further, and fresh lava is landing on areas that have not been affected yet, and that's what that sizzling noise is. So that was a quick little burst there. Just incredible footage. Now, if I had to put a comparison of this particular eruption of where we are as far as volcanoes are, remember Kilauea back in 2017. The last time that Kilauea went off was back in 1979, or a bigger eruption, I should say. And here we haven't seen an eruption like this since 1971. We've also discussed other locations that seem to have a hit or miss when it comes to volcano eruptions. We can't really pinpoint that grand solar minimums or even solar minimums are responsible for every single volcano that's big that ever goes off. Research is still being done, though. I will look more into that. Even the years that we didn't have this volcano going off that weren't grand solar minimums, they still could have been minimum cycles and with lower solar activity than what we're currently experiencing. And those freak cycles do happen outside the bounds of grand solar minimums. For instance, the Gleesburg minimum. That happened outside of a grand solar minimum. And that was a very, very, very weak period of solar activity. And, you know, back in the early 1900s through 1920 was when we saw the biggest impacts from that low solar activity. But nonetheless, lots of smoke, lots of ash plume, lots of spewing lava, and this was expected. Now, again, with the corona hole that we have facing us today, the KP is at 0. I did point out on Friday that with this volcano definitely seemed as if we were going to see an eruption. And with that said, an eruption, as far as how strong it's going to be, is yet to be seen. For that scenario that a lot of people are reporting about, as far as the tsunami. Right now, this volcano has erupted as a VEI2. That is not strong enough. We do not see any indication that this is going to come to fruition. And there's another explosion of lava continuing, getting bigger here, folks. Wow. So the fountain of lava here is amazing to watch. Hopefully everyone is safe. Now, you can't be too close to this, obviously, for breathing qualities. Unless these guys are wearing respirators, which I'm probably sure they are. But you hear people talking in the background, and you hope they're being smart and safe about this. But we really appreciate pictures here from Reuters, bringing us this live coverage of the volcano eruption here in the Canary Islands. Now, the eruption started at 3:15 local time, 10 minutes after our previous update, when we noticed the strong increase in seismic activity. Just before the eruption, authorities had started to evacuate about 40 people with mobility problems and farm animals from the area where most seismic activity had been. More evacuations obviously are underway. I heard that number is now 50. They have helped up to 50 people with mobility issues escape from what is coming right now. And we don't know how long this could go on. This reminds me of one of those Kilauea situations where it could be weeks, it could be just days. But right now, we are monitoring that. This is real-time information. Again, a VEI2, only a VEI2 here at the Cumbre Vieja volcano in La Palma, Canary Islands here. Today is Sunday, September 19th, 2021. Thanks you for joining Grand Solar Minimum channel for this update. Let's check out and see if I can find any more stats. We're not reporting any damage yet. Authorities evacuating the infirm, farm animals from area. Mandatory evacuation ordered for 4 villages. Spanish Prime Minister delays the UN trip, heads to the islands. And the last major eruption on this volcano was in 1971. Just give you a minute to kind of take all this in. I'll tell you too, in no circumstances should anyone go near the lava flow. Especially if there's volcanic ash, they are recommending folks to stay in your home. It is dangerous to breathe this stuff in. Man, La Palma has been on high alert after more than 22,000 tremors were reported in a space of a week at Cumbre Vieja, a chain of volcanoes that last had a major eruption in 1971. It's one of the most active volcanoes in the Canaries. So that's an interesting fact to also note. So this is not an unusual eruption. However, once again, solar activity was also low in the 70s. Another correlation possibly. Right now we know our current solar conditions favor seismic activity or volcanic activity, and we're seeing that right now. Nothing major, nothing to worry about or get panic going here on the East Coast. Nobody on the East Coast needs to pack up the car and fill up the gas tank and roll out. That's not what's happening right now. This is a very average and typical volcanic eruption. Now, I'm not downplaying this at all because there are still things that can happen. The villagers here and people could still get killed or hurt or lose property. It's still a mess. I mean, this is not a good situation, and it could get worse. So we're hoping for the best here at the Grand Solar Minimum in covering this, and we wanted to come out and do a live quick update and just give you the facts about this volcano. It started going off around 3:15 local time. It is a VEI2 with around 50 people with mobility issues being evacuated. Again, these villages around these volcanoes are not as populated, so that's a good thing. So the evacuations for these areas are not going to be as difficult. But we have lava flow on highways and villages, already making travel impassable. We also have, as we know, right now we have 2 fissures that have opened up so far from this volcanic explosion. And I'll get you the actual detail on the size of these fissures that have opened up so far. The second fissure is about 100 meters above where the first one opened. I've not seen the details on the lengths of these fissures. I will get that to you as soon as possible. Again, folks, we kind of knew, we expected this arrival of this explosion. We kind of expected that this volcano, with the magma intrusion that we reported on Friday, with the solar weather the way it is right now, low KP indices at 0, that's all you need, folks. That's all you need. And here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel, we hope that we were able to connect the dots to show you that the sun not only controls the climate, but it also helps get things started off here on Earth, like volcanoes and earthquakes. And this is a huge example of that correlation. We always say KP of 0 to 2 favors seismic activity and volcanic activity. The sun has been quiet for 3 days, no sunspots. Cosmic radiation is up, so that means our core is getting heated up from highly charged particles, which is increasing more magma intrusion. And now, here we do have an eruption from this volcano. A VEI2, it's important to note that we are not facing any kind of crisis just yet as far as any kind of tsunamis, and it doesn't look likely that that's going to happen. But we will keep an eye on this here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. So if there is any new updates or news that are happening with this volcanic eruption, we will report as soon as possible. Guys, I'm going to leave you just for a little bit and just watch the footage of this particular volcano. I'll be right back. Alright, so somebody in the chat is requesting a little bit of information on VEI. By the way, VEI is Volcanic Explosion Index. And we are experiencing the VEI2. So, what does that mean? Well, on the scale of everything with the big picture, this is very low. And I will give you examples of volcanoes that were in higher VEI. So for example, 1980, we had a VEI 5 volcanic eruption at Mount St. Helens. That was in 1980. So it goes from 0 to 8, and 8 is being the ultimate big boy. I mean, huge, big one here. So, but I'm just going to give you a couple of examples here. That way, maybe you've heard of some of these, but most of them are common at VEI-1s, VEI-2, VEI-3, even a VEI-4. Not that big of a deal. In fact, this volcano exploded back in 1971 and was a VEI-4. So this one here being a VEI-2 is weaker. Now, I indicated that I thought maybe that because we were heading into a grand solar minimum, that this particular volcanic explosion could be worse than a VEI-4. Right now, it's not showing that. But we have VEI-5s and beyond. Those become a little bit stronger, and those sometimes can affect things such as the climate. Like the 1883 eruption of Krakatoa started in the late morning, August 27th. Let's see if I can find a familiar one. Mount Tambora. Everybody know. Okay, this is a good judge here. So, Mount Tambora was a volcano that went off in 1815 during a grand solar minimum. And Mount Tambora was the reason why we saw a summer or a winter. What, it was a summer without a winter? No, it was a year without a summer. I'll get it right, folks. Sorry. Year without a summer in 1816 in the Northeast because of a volcano, Mount Tambora. Now, their ash plume on a VEI-7 was over 120,000 feet. So that's a huge explosion, folks. But those VEI-7s, those happen on a frequency of 500 to 1,000 years. Now, what's the frequency on the VEI-8s, you ask? And those are like 50,000 year timescales. In fact, when you're looking at the last time we saw a VE8, it's insane. All these dates are from BC. Yellowstone, 630,000 BC, which is when this VEI-8 volcano went off. The big one, right? Toba, 74,000 BC. So you see these older volcanic activities, these bigger eruptions. In my opinion, there had to have been something hundreds of thousands of years ago, a million years ago, where solar conditions were just unbelievable. And unfortunately, all we have to go off of this is ice core data and carbon-13 data to figure out what kind of highly charged particles were in the atmosphere during these areas. And I tell you, that's some real big digging right there for this. But this is what it takes for us to find out exactly what triggered these VEI-8s. Now, John Casey in Upheaval has predicted something as strong as a VEI-7 between now and 2037, which is this upcoming grand solar minimum known as the Jack Eddy minimum. So if John Casey thinks that we could see a VEI of 7 or greater, again, we have to look at what the empirical data says that would match up such a prediction. When you look at these eruptions, these VEI-7s, Mount Tambora is one of them. Mount Tambora, and to be honest with you folks, it's a little creepy that we see almost about 500 to 1,000 years on the frequency of volcanoes at VEI-7. So the good news is that 2300, right? Because the last time we've seen a VEI-7 volcanic eruption was in 1815, Mount Tambora. So if this stat is true, we are off the hook on a VEI-7. Now, Greater than 50,000 years for the VEI-8s. I apologize, I said less than. It's greater than 50,000 years. The problem is that's so vague. That's so vague, and there's so many super volcanoes out there that haven't erupted in hundreds of thousands of years. So to hear this description of a VE8, in my opinion, it's a very, very low likely chance that this Earth will spew out a VEI-8 according to empirical data. I don't know it all, and I'm not a predictor, but I'm just saying here, it looks to me that we're about every 50,000 years, and we look to be safe at this moment from the big one at this time, in our generation possibly. Again, who knows what the future holds in store, but if you have to base it off of trends and looking at volcanic eruptions in the past, you have to feel good at least a VEI is not possible, or at least it doesn't seem logical at this time. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who will disagree with that, and that's fine, because there's a lot of research still going on about solar connections to seismic and volcanic connections, as well as the climate. So again, I don't claim to have all the answers and know it all. I have a pretty decent understanding, and I can tell you that the correlation between the sun and volcanoes and earthquakes, along with the climate, is definitely present here, especially after what we just said on Friday. Watch out for this coronal hole that we saw right now that's Earth-facing. Low KP indices. Those are things that can trigger seismic activity. Now, we'll probably see a minor G1 geomagnetic storm affecting the region here in the next 3 days. So somewhere around September 22nd, we should see some minor G1 activity. We just had a minor G1 geomagnetic storm happen just a couple of days ago, and that also could have contributed as well to charging up our atmosphere and just pounding this planet with cosmic radiation. And again, folks, cosmic radiation just doesn't stop with me and you. It goes all the way to the core. And with a cooling atmosphere, and underneath is heating, you have expansion and contraction, and boom. This is what we're looking at. I believe this now makes 43 active volcanoes. Also, the Grimsvötn volcano is also active in Iceland, which we also reported on Friday. So what are the odds that two volcanoes kind of go off at the same time? And there's a lot of smoke on that last little explosion there, so some rock must have fell into the crater there. But what are the odds that we have solar conditions that are just right for volcanic activity, and we're getting all these reports of these possible volcano eruptions, and then here we are. KP is 0 for several hours, and we have volcanoes popping off. New ones, anyway. But yes, somewhere around 43 active volcanoes right now as we speak here worldwide. See who we got here in the chat section. Say hello to Matt Bros. Thank you for tuning in. Shirley Rose and Shirley Davis also. Or I'm sorry, Dorothy Rose and Shirley Davis. Good to see you out here as well. Lots of new faces out there. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Arnold Schmidt, good to have you out here. I saw a Knife Collector, my wife Mari. Good to have her as well, my little backup. Sue Hayes, good to have you aboard as well. And thank you, Dorothy Rose, for your volunteer service that you continue to do as far as modding for this channel. We really appreciate all of our mods out there who are here on a nightly basis. If we broadcast, you guys are here helping us, and we greatly appreciate all the efforts that we see from you guys. Lots of new faces out here. Again, we are covering live the Cumbre Vieja volcanoes in the Canary Islands. It's a VEI-2. The eruption started around 3:15 local time, and then about 100 feet above where the first fissure opened up, we had a second fissure that also opened up here. So we have a constant flow of lava, a fountain, as you would say. Again, 2 fissures have opened up. This is just the beginning, and we've only gotten so much limited information thus far. No reports on fatalities or injuries or any structures that have been damaged, but we are getting reports that the lava flows are starting to affect certain highways and roads. So now travel is becoming almost impossible around this volcano. A little bit of commotion there from the locals filming this for us. We also reported on this that the SO2 levels were really high before the eruption. So that was something else too that was an indication that we were going to see an imminent eruption from this particular volcano. The only question was, how strong was this going to be, or how weak was this going to be? If anything, this is a wonder of nature right now that we're watching. Let's hope that it stays as safe as possible. Volcanic activity is natural, just like earthquakes, just like the climate changing. These are going to happen. And when you look at things like this, it really makes you feel small because nobody had any control over this. This lava does not care where it goes. It doesn't care if you have a house in its way. It's nature. It's going to do what it's going to do. But very beautiful to watch when you're at a safe distance, that's for sure. I think this one and the Kilauea volcano eruption were probably... these are going to be the two that I remember so far from this previous minimum. As we were talking about winding down solar cycle 24 into 25, that minimum was pretty deep. It's still, in my opinion, even though we are almost in 2022, we're 3 months away from 2022, folks, and we are still seeing minimum light conditions from the sun. Mari made up a good point earlier and mentioned, like, you know, if this was 2018, 2019, how much worse would this have been? So, is it possible we can thank the sun gods for the timing of this eruption, being at a part of our minimum where we're coming out of the minimum and starting to uptick more activity, strengthening the magnetosphere very slightly? I mean, cosmic rays today are 8.9%. 3 days ago when the sun was blank, we were at 10%. So, just letting you know, the more spotless day we have, the weaker the magnetosphere is. And even when we do have sunspots, we're talking about really small minimum-like sunspots. Yeah, we had a group number of 99 just the other day. We had 4 active sunspot regions, smooth sunspot number of 99. That's big. That's a big deal. But we've also noticed a fluctuation. We get a big burst of energy for a while, and then we get a lull. I just find it coincidental? No. This is the correlation that we are experiencing minimum light conditions now for the past 4 days. With the coronal hole Earth facing now, and the KP indice at a 0. This is how this stuff works. I don't know the exact ingredients and every detail to this, but every time I see these conditions with an earthquake of 6.5 or higher that appears, or a volcanic explosion, even as small as this coronal hole is, it was still enough to get things started today. I in my heart alone, I really feel like the solar weather is very responsible for what's happening right now in 2 different volcanoes, not just here, but in Grímsvötn in Iceland, also going off as well. Let's take a look here and see if I can find any more updated information, because I think right now these are just the preliminary reports on everything, and there hasn't been anything as far as injuries or death or anything like that. And they were reporting the intense earthquakes today too, before this eruption. You're watching the Grand Solar Minimum channel, our live coverage on the Cumbre Vieja, La Palma, Canary Islands volcano. It is a VEI2. Lots of lava flowing from this particular eruption. Quite a sight to see. Absolutely stunning shot here, folks. Absolutely stunning. And you can hear people in the background talking. I just heard someone sigh. You know, it only makes me wonder that they know what's happening. Tambia, has the lava hit the ocean yet? Not to my knowledge, but I'll keep looking for that information as well. Good questions here. If you guys have questions in the chat, go ahead and please leave that in the chat. I will do my best to find the answer for you on that. And I also noticed that Mari has left the link. If anybody's interested in the book Upheaval, which talks all about grand solar minimums and volcanoes of VEI 7s and higher, and earthquakes and everything else, you should take a look at John Casey's Upheaval. This book, you'll have so many aha moments while reading this book, especially if you follow this channel for a decent amount of time and you've heard what we've talked about. You're gonna be really familiar with John Casey's book. Because I can tell you right now, people like John Casey and Valentina Sarkova and our good independent researchers like Starman, who are dedicated to the truth and they're hard workers. You will definitely want this book, Upheaval by John Casey. And I know a couple others books are out there too, Cold Sun. One of them actually is not even in print anymore. So get them while they last. Mari left the link in the chat. Yes, can we please get info on the fissures? You would think that they would be up here in the Volcano Discovery Report, which I'm looking at right now, folks. I'll go ahead and update it. Maybe they'll have us something here. We are looking at a VEI2 eruption here that started about 3:15 local time. And I am not seeing anything yet, guys, about fissure size or anything like that. I do apologize. I'm still looking, but I'm going over a lot of information. I'm trying to keep up here. The preliminary reports so far, not a lot of info coming in other than what we're looking at right here in the basic stats of this particular volcano eruption. I think I'm going to check... Mari said the watchers had a good... So Ms. Chime, when this goes in, it will New York be in its path of the mega wave? Well, Ms. Chime, it has to be a very precise, extreme timing event for this to happen. The chances of what we saw, the scenario of the 80-foot tsunami heading to the East Coast, are very, very, very low, folks. So many things have to happen at the right moment for that to happen. And without it all happening at the right time, at the right place, it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because it is, or they wouldn't have made that model. But I'm going to go ahead and agree with the people that made the model and agree that this is a very low likelihood of this being a 80-foot tsunami heading towards the East Coast. Now, anything can change. This eruption could get worse. So I can't rule anything out at this time because it's at the very beginning. However, if this would have been a VEI 5 to start, or a VEI 6, things would definitely be a little bit more nerve-wracking here on the East Coast of the United States. That is a fact. Yeah, I don't think the East Coast surfers are disappointed one bit. 80-foot tsunami waves, I don't even want to think about it. That's like, I think someone said it was Japan 100 times over. Think of that. The Japan tsunami that happened, the Japanese tsunami that killed so many, 100 times worse if that scenario was true. So I'm pretty sure the East Coast surfers are very delighted that there's not an 80-foot tsunami wave coming their direction right now. Yeah, Lava Entity brought up a good point. There's a lot of talk about this, and that's fine. There should be a discussion about it. You need to be raised awareness of dangerous volcanoes and possibilities of certain disasters. However, and like Mari said, if this eruption would have happened in 2019 or 2020, I might have been a little bit more concerned. But right now, I feel like this is just going to be like a Kilauea event. We're going to see a long-lasting lava, explosions, fissures opening up, and it could get worse. I'm not ruling out a worse situation down the road, but right now, we got to keep our heads about this. If anything, this is just another wonderful sight from Mother Earth once again, and hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, Scott says 100 times worse than Fukushima. Yeah, that would do some damage, beyond damage. Yeah, mega tsunami. Again, when you think about the chances of a mega tsunami, just look at the chances of a VEI-8 volcano explosion. The pattern is every 50,000 years we have a VEI-8. The last one that we had, VEI-8, was 25,000 BC. So, I'm not so sure that if we go based off of that, we have anything to worry about. However, it is important to note that it has been quite some time. Lots of years have passed. So who knows, right? I don't think any of us in this chat room or on this channel are going to be alive to see Yellowstone go off. So I think we could put that one to rest right now. And as far as what's going to happen right now, well, all thing we can do is just keep our eyes on this and keep everyone updated to what's happening. Again, you are watching the live coverage here of the Cumbre Vieja volcano here in the Canary Islands. A VEI-2 index right now. But lots of lava flow coming out of this particular eruption. Definitely the newsmaker of the week. As climate talk, the lies continue to be heated up, but as far as seismic activity, I know several channels across YouTube have been doing a very good job of covering this. Some folks maybe are trying to expect something worse than what's happening, but you know, for all those channels that do kind of make things a little more scarier, at least when the good happens, it's a huge relief, right? Because you were worried. You were worried that the worst of the worst was going to happen, and then when you see the event take place and it's not so bad, it kind of eases your mind a little bit, and it makes, you know, expecting these disasters a little bit easier to handle. Just look at the empirical data. I'm not saying there's not a small chance for a rogue explosion that could be awful for the world, but when you look at the data and the chances of these VEI explosions as far as being higher than 6, this VEI 6, they seem to happen on a frequency of every 50 to 100 years. That is not enough to cause a globally problem with climate, but it certainly can make a dent, that's for sure. It will affect regional areas as well. And just think about all the CO2 that's being emitted into the atmosphere right now, folks, from just this little VEI2. The SO2, the CO2. Think about that. And you wonder why we're sitting at 420 parts per million on CO2 emission right now. We've had previous ocean ice melt. So when you have warmer waters in the ocean, that releases CO2. Ice melt also releases CO2. Forest fires releases CO2. And we've seen a ton of those. Seen lots of smoke flow across the United States. Now you've got 43 volcanoes going off at the same time right now. 43. That's why we see CO2 at 420 parts per million. Not because of your Volkswagen SUV. Not because of your natural gas furnace that keeps you warm in northern Wisconsin. Not because of the plastic bags that your local grocery store provides you with to carry your groceries to the car. Okay? Just like this volcano, this is natural. solar cycles, the sun, you better believe this is all related to what we're seeing today. And I'm here to tell you guys this is nothing more than nature's work.
¿Te acuerdas que vimos el cementerio aquí? Esto está ahora del cementerio para acá. Lo que es toda la recta de las manchas está por todo eso encima. Es lo que está, es por donde está bajando.
Just incredible pictures, guys. I don't mean to be quiet. I hate dead air, but I'm amazed right now watching what I'm watching. And it's not that it's like, you know, doom or anything. It's just beautiful. This is an absolutely beautiful shot. Gotta thank Reuters for this, by the way. Again, we've been covering the grand solar minimum now, Mari and I, for almost 5 years, covering it extensively. And to see what we've seen over the last 5 years with volcanoes and earthquakes and climate, cosmic radiation, and how much it's really impacted our planet, coming out of this last solar minimum, we've really seen things progress. And we're not even trying to look for it. It just happens like it's supposed to. And that's what confuses me about why so many folks out there disregard the sun's connection when it comes to climate and seismic activity, such as volcanoes and earthquakes. Now, I don't know if it's because the smoke is getting more intense, but it does look like the lava fountains could be getting less intense, so we'll see. Watching this here for the past 45 minutes or so, the lava fountains have been pretty big, but here it comes again. Wow, that's impressive. Absolutely breathtaking, folks. So it says in here in the chat, on Friday in Volcano said it had at times recorded more than 400 earthquakes in a single hour. On Saturday, the agency reported a 9-day total of more than 25,000 earthquakes. That's quite a big deal there, folks. Johnny Fresh says the volcano is not wearing a mask. Shame it. Shame. Shame. Again, folks, I'm scouring the internet right now looking for more information to update us here about the Cumbre Vieja volcano here in La Palma, Canary Islands. Sorry if I sound like William Shatner when I pronounce it. I just don't want to butcher it. I know people from the area could be watching it. It could be a turnoff. But I know sometimes when I try to pronounce some of these areas, I sound like William Shatner. So just know that and expect it. So pretty much the information still remains the same. I'm looking at volcano discovery right now. No update, no news yet. We're just basically watching this beautiful, gorgeous fountain here from the Cumbre Vieja volcano. Just absolutely breathtaking. And again, the hope is that everybody's safe. We're not going to experience anything catastrophe or anything like that. I like that comment. I'm looking in the chat, folks. I'm watching you guys. Not scared. The earth was here before we were and will be here long after. That is 100% truth. And that's what I try to tell people, not to be so arrogant about man starting or stopping climate change. This planet has been here for 4.6 billion years. Man is not going to be the death of this planet. You're not going to look in the future and someone in 3035 is going to say, back in the 20th century, man destroyed Earth and it died. That's not going to happen. Again, folks, we are looking at a VEI-2, which started exploding around 3:15 local time. We have 2 fissures that we know of right now that are open, about 100 to 1,000 feet apart from each other. I have been looking for information on how big these fissures, and I can't find it just yet. Just saw another chat question. What about the possibility of the mega tsunami in the East Coast? Thank you for joining us at Andy Galindo 85. The possibility of that right now is about 0 to 0. It just was not that big of a eruption. Right now, we don't see any signs of the part of the volcano sliding into the ocean and causing this domino effect of a tsunami. Again, I don't think people understand how much the sun is in control, but I also don't think people understand how much had to happen for that particular tsunami, that mega tsunami, to actually take place on the East Coast. And folks, we're just not there yet. We're not at that point as far as any concern or worries. There's no flashing lights going on about this. Now, folks, you can see lights looking at this footage. They've kind of backed out a little bit. These are village lights. So here we do have lava flow coming down into what looks like apparently a village area. So it'll be interesting to see how these lava flows will continue to go, and the camera is now panning around to give us a better view. God bless you at Reuters. So the deep sighs and the breathing you're hearing are the camera crew, and they are just in absolutely shock right now. Great coverage here, folks. True. Mike says, and we were surprised at St. Helens. That's true. Again, I'm not rolling that stuff out, guys. I'm just trying to be the reasonable, logical, rational person here. I'm just going with percentages. We knew that the eruption was definitely imminent. But as far as the scenario of a mega super tsunami heading towards the East Coast, the possibility was there, but we're talking a very, very slim chance. Very, very slim chance, folks. So now we are starting to see, these are power lines. You can see the power poles right there. And this lava flow is affecting now the infrastructure of this particular village here that is just south of this volcanic and is in the direct path of the lava flows as we speak. So this is going to be a lengthy situation. Lots of damage, lots of fire damage, of course. The air quality is just absolutely terrible. No one needs to be out near this. And, and this is serious. I see a few people in the chat. For instance, Fabio, I hope that you're not directly affected by this, and we are praying for you and your people right now if you are. But this is a serious situation for some. Like, folks are worried. If you have family or anyone that you know that lives in these areas, this is a concerning time. And so that's why we try to keep our heads level here at this channel. That way when we report the news, we're not installing any kind of fear or panic unless it's needed. And right now, we are just basically reporting on this event that Mother Nature has presented us. And right now, everything is going okay when it comes to death or injuries. But it is early. It just started hours ago. And we don't really have much but just the preliminary reports on certain stats of this volcano. Great camera work here. Trying to give you the overall view. It's dark out, so it's going to be hard to see, but at the same time, we can see a lot more detail of the fires and the lava flow because of how dark it is right now. So if anything, we are noticing the lava flow a lot better in these pictures at nighttime than we would during broad daylight. Yeah, indeed, the toxins that you're going to breathe into, if you live anywhere near this area, boy, this lava fountain now appears to be getting more intense, as that's the brightest I've seen this volcano here since we started broadcasting live. Matthew Bros asked, could they see this coming and how far before? Well, they started noticing the earthquake swarms here this past week, and they started to put a little bit more attention. So it was something to kind of keep your eye on. Friday, I know we reported on it. It had already been circulating in the news for about a week or so. So yes, they did know this was going to happen, but they didn't really have the clear signs that they needed until Friday, when things were really starting to come together for the possibility of an eruption from this volcano. And then, of course, after that came the model scenario, worst case scenario I might have, of a tsunami. Matt asking, could this trigger an earthquake? Well, absolutely. Absolutely, Matt. Earthquakes will follow during these volcanic eruptions. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see lightning bolts over this mountain as well. Our atmosphere, after all, is flux with highly charged particles, thanks to the multiple days of cosmic radiation dosage rates over 9%. And they won't get out of that range, which is solar minimum conditions. Not real deep solar minimum conditions, but low enough to help aggravate situations like this. Again, the good news is that I'm not finding anything on any deaths or any structure problems yet. But we definitely can see the lava flow that's taking place here just to that village below. Again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Please hit that like button. If you like what you see right now, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications if you want more updates on the sun and space weather and what it does to our planet and climate. And this is an example of space weather conditions being just right for what's happening right now. In fact, I did imply Friday night that I would not be surprised with the sun's conditions, the coronal hole, the KPNC, that we would see an eruption in the near future. But as far as the mega tsunami scenario, right now, I gotta say that is not gonna happen at this point. We are watching the situation carefully. We're not ruling anything out, but the chances of that scenario playing out to the T right now seems low. Hey there, Fishing Magician, our neighbor out here in the Lake George area in upstate New York, where we're located. Beautiful property my friend Fishing Magician has, and he has cameras on his channel just showing nature's beauty. Sometimes we get a couple of deer we get to see. But Fishing Magician, good to have you aboard here today, guys. Don't be scared, be prepared. Absolutely. Absolutely. And now let's just talk about for a minute if we were facing that particular situation with the mega tsunami. We have 8 to 9 hours. We would have 8 to 9 hours before the so-called wave would hit. And I know we got about 11 million people in New York City. So the reason why so many channels were talking about this, because it was very, very concerning to begin with. It's a scary situation. You've got 8 to 9 hours to evacuate tens of millions of people on the East Coast.
I don't even know if we have a plan that could do that successfully or safely.
Okay.
So, and the silver lining of this eruption right now is so far, that does not look like it's going to happen. But just so you know, the reason why you saw so much awareness about this is because if it did happen, it's a serious situation. It would be a life-threatening event. It would wipe out millions of lives if that actually happened. Because there's no way we could get evacuated millions of people in just 8 to 9 hours. So let's thank the sun gods that we are not dealing with that at this moment, and the chances of that mega tsunami in my book are very, very slim. Still scanning for more information, folks. Just bear with me. I just want to make sure I get the latest on these updates. You know, it'd be interesting because 1971, some folks who are in their 50s and 60s can remember when this went off last time. So it'll be interesting to hear the stories when this volcano is finished to see if exactly what they remember the most about the 71 volcano eruption. Is it anything compared to this, or is this better or worse? Oh, yeah. So, you know, and that's kind of the reason why we try not to go on the side of the worst case scenario. But another great point in the chat, 10, maybe 15 nuclear plants on the coast. How far can you run? Good point. What would happen? But I think folks make a lot of mistakes about when you're talking about nuclear energy plants. That is different from actually nuclear missile material. So I hear your concerns. It's still toxic waste if we had a leakage. Again, you are watching the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We are updating you on live footage of the Cumbre Vieja volcano in the Canary Islands. This just started about 3:15 as a VEI2, which is very low on the scale of volcano explosions. Very low. If anything, this is just a fireworks show from Mother Nature. Now, I don't know if you see this, and I'm wondering if this is another fissure opening up. But this right here, this area right here seems to be spewing out more lava like a fountain. So very interesting to see here if indeed this is a new area that is opening up and more lava is starting to spew. And I'm still looking for the current information. If anybody in the chat knows where I could find any information on the fissures, would be very much appreciated. Ian says, just say La Palma. All right, La Palma volcano in the Canary Islands. How about that? But I like to say Cumbre Vieja. Another comment here in the chat. I have a feeling that Kilauea and maybe Mauna Loa is going to go off soon as well. It's possible. Fisher Magician says, get up into the mountain, folks. Learn how to make fire from nothing. It is really rewarding. A lot of us folks up here in the upstate New York area know a thing or two about camping and survival. Fishing Magician is one of those guys that knows what he's talking about, folks. Be prepared, not scared. Cumbre Vieja. I'll get it right. It's only been 30 times since I've said it. I'm starting to get it right. That sounded like thunder, but I doubt it was. It was probably just more lava shooting up into the air. As you can see, that little explosion in the air kind of really getting up there. The particles of lava just kind of spewing out into the air and just sprinkling the terrain below. Again, this lava fountain has been pretty consistent since it erupted. So, Laura, you're not tooting your own horn. This is very good that you are canning tomatoes. Mari and I did a radio broadcast with Adapt 2030, David Dubine, and his advice to Mari and I were to buy all the tomatoes that you can buy and start canning. So do not feel like you're bragging, Laura. You're being very, very smart. And by you sharing that information into this chat with 667 people in here, that might give someone an idea to start thinking about what they can do to prepare for what happens if they're in a spot where they get a natural disaster that cuts off food supply, that cuts off water, that cuts off power. Are you prepared? Do you have a bug out bag? Do you have a plan? Do you have a shelter to go to? 6 Acres, thank you very much, from North Dakota, says thanks for the updates. Well, we appreciate the donation, sir, very much. One for all, the coast would be mostly affected, the East Coast. So where we live, Mari and I are about an hour north of the capital region of Albany. From what I understand, if we live in that area, it sounds like that we're not going to have to worry about the effect of a wave that affects the East Coast, if there's a silver lining. But think about this for a minute. For Mari and I, we might be safe from the tsunami, but if there was a mega tsunami wave heading this way and everybody was evacuating, think about the traffic. Think about the traffic problem that we would have in these little towns that are outside of New York City and outside of Massachusetts. People would want to run as far away as possible from something this disastrous. So if you live, and let's say for instance, One for All lives in Albany. If you live in Albany, which is a crowded city already, and we've got more people fleeing the East Coast, you could be looking at issues with crime. You could be looking at issues of just population control, mass control. The police may need to intervene and try to organize camps. Because, folks, we're talking about New York City here. Just 11 million people alone. Yeah, so 15 miles inland is not that big of an area. But when you think about all the people that live in that area, so again, where we live, we can be assured that we're not going to be affected by a tsunami wave. But I'd have to be curious to see the chaos from the overflow. People just fleeing the East Coast and trying to drive as far as possible to stay away from danger. And that, to me, friends, is, you know, just as big a concern as dealing with, well, actually, dealing with an 80-foot tsunami wave is probably a much, much bigger problem than people overflowing your local grocery store for supplies. So, show a little more compassion, I guess I could, right? Again, you are watching live coverage of the La Palma volcano here in the Canary Islands. Look at that, Ian. I tried to mess up the word canary. But we are watching the eruption that had begun around 3:15 local time. About an hour later, the second fissure had also erupted. And we are, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the fissure 1 and that's fissure 2. So if I'm correct, I believe that this was the first, and then of course the big one happened afterwards, and this is what we've been watching since. So that definitely looks like this fissure right here is getting bigger, because that plume of lava that's flowing into the atmosphere right now as we speak was not that active, I don't believe, but it is going in and out in spurts. Right now we can't even see it, but I think we're seeing smoke blocking this, folks. And that is becoming more and more apparent here in this video as we are starting to see a lot more ash coverage. So it's going to be dangerous, hopefully not for the people making this video, to get out of harm's way. But this is not good stuff that you want to be breathing in. Ashley D says, looks like it's getting larger. I'd have to agree with you. They've zoomed out the picture. And I think the reason why they're zooming out here is to show you this definitely is getting bigger right here. I can say this confidently. They've zoomed this out, and this, look at how high this lava fountain is getting now. Lots of material flying over villages below. That is not good, folks. So yes, you're right, Ashley. This is getting a little bit bigger. You hear the rumbling from the volcanic eruption. Folks, all I can say is we are living in amazing times right now, and I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and catching an update. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of this video.
Somos de televisión. Déjame ver las identificaciones. Sí, correcto.
What? Look at this. We are starting to see more activity from this fissure right here. That lava flow is much longer now. Look at this. It's expanding in length. I'd be interested for them to just zoom this area in right here where I've got my blue arrow. Want to thank Terry for the donation as well in the super chat. Yeah, Terry, very possible. In fact, this fissure right here that I'm pointing at here with my blue arrow, it seems to be expanding. So on top of more lava, I mean, this is a pretty high lava fountain, folks. On top of more lava coming out here in this primary opening, this fissure right here appears to be expanding as well. I'm assuming this is a fissure. The way the lava is flowing out, this has to be, right? So I'm not watching other volcano channels, so I'm not sure what they're reporting on this, but I'd have to believe where my blue arrow is pointing at, that is a lava fountain from another fissure, a much smaller one. But you're starting to see things really starting to light up. Look at that. That little explosion down here. These are lava blocks. Guys, look at this in the air. These are like grenades falling to the ground. That's what you're seeing, these little flashes here. These lava rocks being projected into the air and then falling down from the sky. Absolutely incredible footage that we are seeing right now, guys. So Ian is confirming for me. Ian, thank you very much, that it is a fissure. Some are reporting a third fissure now. And I continue to graze the internet for more information, hopefully to update this situation for us, folks. So Friday Ray claims there are 4 fissures. 4 fissures. I need to continue to look here. Let's check out Twitter. Let me see if I can scour Twitter here, because Twitter has great information sometimes. It's better than the news, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, there is lots of video footage on Twitter of the damage up close. And I can tell you right now, these folks that are taking this footage, I hope they get the heck out of this, because these people are feet away from lava flows at sundown. There's some video coming in that's pretty incredible right now. Earthquakes will continue to go off here. More lava will continue to spew. Again, it's only a VEI 2. So that's the good news. And the good news is from that is that the likelihood of that mega tsunami is less likely to happen at this time. But there are still many dangers in place. And look at that lava flow, folks. Continuing to expand. It's almost like the volcano breathes. It's exhaling right now to inhale for a little bit and then have these large explosions like we're seeing right now. And off in the distance, we also see this fissure starting to act up a lot more as well. Thank you, Alpaca Male. He just informed us in the chat. The lava is advancing 5 meters an hour, very slow, no danger. Yeah, Trevor, that's not surprising, bud. What's amazing is these rocks that are being flung, these lava rocks, into the village, into the terrain below. These will contribute to fires and more burnage. Just absolutely amazing footage here from Reuters. It is a blessing to be able to catch stuff like this live, folks. Worry about Mount Etna? Well, sure. Lots of activity happening worldwide with all the volcanoes. Etna's been pretty damn active. So Swev brings up a good point. The problem, like Iceland, it's a shield volcano. But people don't realize that steam building up inside along the crack is the reason for landslide. Possible. Not mega tsunami, but tsunami. So I like that there's a lot of different perspectives on what can happen from this particular event. Some folks are saying it's not even going to be a mega, but could still produce a minor tsunami. Nothing that would knock out the East Coast, but something that would make a little bit of waves. No pun intended. Right here we just saw some fire erupt right where my blue arrow is, in an area that is not showing any lava flow, but it could be just a lava rock that is ignited in an area and fire will begin here. But, oh no, look, it is. There it is again. Now, I don't know if some of you are just messing with me in there, because every time I look in the chat, there's 4, there's 5, there's 7 fissures opened up, but it is possible that we will continue to see more fissures opening up, as we are starting to see where my blue arrow is, the very tip of it. We are seeing a very light spark there, and I don't know if that's just fire from one of the lava rocks, or is it going to be the beginning of another fissure? Again, you are watching live here the Palma volcano here in the Canary Islands, the VEI-2. Sorry about that. I'll move, but you can see what I'm talking about right here. Someone's saying my arrow's in the way, but there is a very light fire right here, I believe. That's not a fissure, so that's good news. I'll move the arrow out of the way. Take it easy. Take it easy. So we're getting reports here in the chat that some folks are saying on news reports out of the UK that there are 7 to 8 fissures that are currently open right now. John Eckberg, no, that is false. There is no tsunami heading towards the East Coast. Phyllis Westbury says there's a report that 3 out of 5 buoys on the East Coast are out. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And I'll go look into that right now. All right, so I can tell you right now that I don't see any indication that any buoys on the East Coast are down. I could be wrong. Let me double check here. Now, here is something that is interesting. Let me rephrase that. There are a couple of buoys in the Atlantic, near the middle Atlantic and towards the East Coast, that have not reported any data in the last 8 hours. So I understand what the concern is here. There does appear to be 4 buoys here off the East Coast that have not reported any information since 4 hours ago. Now, tsunami station in event mode, where is that? Right now, it is nowhere. Thank God. I am looking right now across the area, and even where this volcano is erupting, not really a lot of information. So there are no buoys in active mode at this time. I repeat, there are no buoys in the Atlantic anywhere that are reflecting anything indicating a tsunami wave at this time. I will keep this monitored and see what happens. Ah, gotcha. Well, thank you, John. We appreciate the donation there. Sorry for the misunderstanding. And occasionally we can hear the occasional sighs from the people that are operating this camera. And this has got to be stressful to watch. If you're here live, you know, you're thinking to yourself, I can't believe I'm seeing this. But also the concern has to start growing in your mind about how long is this going to last? So one guy says here that the eruption, that there is more fissures opening up there to the left. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. We'll take care of it, James. Don't worry, buddy. Thank you, Tyrone, for the donation. How's it going? He puts in a message. Thank you very much. Much appreciated here, folks. Thank you for tuning into the Grand Solar Minimum to get your information on this volcanic eruption. We bring you the truth and nothing but the facts. Okay, that sounds like a plan, Mari. I'll go ahead and have the Grand Solar Minimum Twitter page up and ready to go, just in case if you find some information. Folks, I wanted to end the broadcast, but this eruption is just so breathtaking to watch. And I think as the information is streamlining in, I'd like to see if I can find some more information before I end this live stream. Again, this is beautiful footage, and thankfully these people are safe. So that's part of the reason why I am in awe of what's happening right now. I've not heard of any deaths or any injuries. So far, so good. Also, just had a report that the airport is now officially closed, which I don't blame. Pam Sloan says this volcano could go off for weeks. So, absolutely. When it comes to this being kind of compared to Kilauea, in a way, I was right. Now, the thing that I'm having an issue with is, or not an issue with, but the coincidence, again, I've been saying this all year long, that this year feels like 2017 all over again. So in 2017, we had Kilauea, and now we have our current volcano erupting. Thank you once again, Tyrone, for your generous donation. We appreciate all donations. We are supported by our subscribers, so everything is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, folks. Starwolf says start looking for a boat. A little late for that, unfortunately. It's 11:30 p.m. I'm assuming here is overseas right now. Yes, Spain, near the Canary Islands. So they've got a long night ahead of them, folks. A very long night. Right now it's a VEI-2 explosion. There are reports now, multiple reports of at least 3 fissures. I've seen reports as high as many as 7 fissures that have opened up from this explosion. And Mari and I are working together here. I'm in the office, she's in the back room, and she is also helping me. So a big thank you to not only the moderator, Mari, at the Grand Solar Minimum, but my lovely producer as well. Make sure we say thank you to Mari. She's early measurements conducted in the field record lava temperatures at, get this, 1,075 degrees Celsius. That's 1,075 Celsius is the early temperature readings from this lava. I don't know what these people are doing so close. That paper little mask that's in this picture that I'm looking at is not going to do anything. Again, looking for possible fissure information. I'd like to confirm it. I'm hearing 3, I'm hearing 5, I've heard up to 7 so far. Big lava fountain continuing here. Look at that. This thing ticked up a notch. We saw lava as high as up here. This power line is a good judgment of where we are, and the explosion so far, that lava fountain seems to be getting to that line. That's big time right there. It hasn't been doing that. So we'll continue to watch this. This seems to be getting bigger. There's our other fissure over here. I'm still watching over here. I think we may have another fissure somewhere over here as well. People are assuming that this lava could reach the coast by the end of the night. Or I should say, in the morning. I'm just sitting here listening to the sounds. I know you guys can hear that. The sound can almost put me to sleep, to be honest with you. It's like a fan in the window. Except I'm sure the tense, the stress right now, that if you were there live, there's nobody sleeping right now. I don't know what happened to the sound. Unfortunately, it looks like we lost a little bit of the sound here. And it could be that the equipment is failing. But we'll keep it on here and see if that changes. But right now, the sound appears to be gone. So far, about 1,000 people have been evacuated immediately. Spain's civil guard said it may need to evacuate up to 10,000 people. La Palma, with a population of 85,000 people, is one of 8 volcanic islands in Spain's Canary Islands, off Africa's west coast. There was a 4.2 magnitude earthquake recorded before the volcanic eruption, which took place in the area known as Cabeza de Vaca. The western slope of the ridge descends to the coast. So there's your answer. Was it coming off the south flank? It appears it was off the western flank. I'm still looking for more information, folks. It appears they've moved the camera a little bit, folks. What we're looking at is down from the volcano, lava flows, and they're panning around just to kind of give you an image of what is happening right now. It is about midnight local time, close to it that is. There is the lava fountains. I hope they bring the sound back. And you see this lava is not slowing down anytime soon as it continues to spew very high up into the atmosphere. I've heard reports 1,500 or higher. So it looks like for right now, we are dealing with a VEI2 volcano eruption as we speak right now, we're not looking at the mega tsunami that we were once expecting, or the possibility of it anyway. So that's the good news, right? Nobody has to get in their cars and drive away from the coast. But that does not mean that we won't see other challenges from this volcano as more lava flow continues towards the coast throughout the night and into the early morning hours. We're watching this live eruption right now. Lava fountain coming out of the Palma volcano in the Canary Islands. And wow, just some of this we keep catching is just amazing. Like watching the lava rocks just fly out of this as high as they can go into the air. You can see it falling down on the terrain here, starting other fires. There's one fissure, I believe, a small one. And then we see other area, like right back here. Look, that's lava spewing up. So that is definitely a fissure on this side right here. And I think that's why they've zoomed in here. They wanted to show this other active region. And this looks lower, too. So there's a tree line in the way. So here soon, this is going to be a very active region if this continues. And I mean by forest fires, burning up, destroying whatever's in the way. But this definitely, look at that lava just exploding from the fissure. And the question is, are there enough fissures out there to relieve some of the pressure to keep this volcanic explosion to a minimum? And that's the only hope that we could have, folks. So to wrap it up one more time before we leave the air, we are watching a VEI-2 explosion here at the La Palma volcano in the Canary Islands. We are not expecting any kind of mega tsunami at this time. There have been no alerts, no buoys are active for any indication of a sudden rise in ocean levels or anything like that. So all is well for now. This just started erupting today around 3:15 local time. Second fissure above had formed about an hour later, and now what we are seeing live on our screen is the result of an eruption here at this volcano here in the Canary Islands, just off the coast of Africa. Folks, we've been talking about it for days. The earthquake swarm has been there. It's given us indications that this was going to happen, and it has happened, especially when we reported on the magma intrusion. We knew it was only a matter of time. And then you factor in space weather, where the sun, we have a Earth-facing coronal hole. We have a KP of 0 right now. So the sun is providing all the fuel that seismic and volcanic activity need for an eruption. And here we have a minor VEI-2 in the Canary Islands. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning into the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and share for more updates. We will bring them to you as they come available here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk soon, folks. Please be safe. Keep your thoughts and prayers with the folks here in the Canary Islands.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.